Hey, everybody, and welcome to Better at Beach. My name is Mark Burrick, and today we have a really cool guest who you guys are going to be surprised with, impressed by, and is extremely entertaining. We're going to introduce Adam in just a minute, but before we get to that, I just want to share a couple of announcements that we have for all of our Better at Beach stuff going on. If you haven't been paying attention, we've been behind the scenes developing a coaching accreditation program, a coaching certification program through Better at Beach. It is now live on our website, and we're doing one mastermind per week with our coaches. And we've upgraded our membership for our players and athletes so that if you want 24/7 video analysis from other pro players and coaches, and you want access to all of our tutorials, just go ahead and click around this video. There will be links as well as a free drill book that takes you there. So our 36 favorite drills for beach volleyball, which Adam knows all about, and we will help you out. So the coaching certification program is now open. So if you want to learn how to coach and how to manage your team and how to design great drills and great practices, go ahead and check it out. The links are all around this video, and I'll send you some emails about that. If you want to join the complete player program, we are there for you to do video analysis with you. And we do have a few events coming up. And the ones that I want to talk about most are our Asheville, North Carolina, April 19th to 21st. We've got a 3-day camp there. That's Asheville, North Carolina. May 31st to June 2nd, we are in Long Beach, New York, in Long Island, New York, and that is packing out. We've got 30 campers so far, and that's due to be our biggest 3-day camp ever. So come hang out in New York. Long Beach is an awesome town. It's where I grew up playing volleyball. And June 14th to 16th, if you guys want to come out to San Diego, June 14th to 16th, we have a men's B, A, and AA camp. We only have 3 courts, so it's men's B, A, and AA, and we'll be there. Click on the links around this video. They will get you the free drills, and they'll get you on our email list, and they'll get you to our website where you can see all those announcements. Now, I want to talk to Adam Roberts. Guys, I know you might not know, but Adam Roberts is for sure the most storied player on the AVP, and he might be the best storyteller, which is a double bonus for us on the AVP. So, Adam, hello, friend. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Fantastic, man. It's good to have you here because you have a social media refusal, which I love and respect. And so I don't think the beach volleyball world gets enough of you, even though you're so entertaining. Why no social media?
I would say a fair amount of it, I think, is a waste of time. Sorry, world. And I guess I just try to put myself in other resources. And a lot of the people that I try to keep in touch with, I would be more direct with them, a text, an email, rather than a social media message. Kind of getting lost in the world of it. I'm also a person who likes to dive all in something that I do, and I've just never really felt the need to just dive all in and get the following and go for it full time. And so I try to put my efforts into other things.
I love that. What are the efforts currently?
Right now, we're in preseason here, and I've chosen to start the season with Nate Miller. And we have we're here in St. Pete, Florida. Yeah. Yes. Nate's been great to work with, and we have a really great training group. A lot of people have seen Nate Yang's built a court in his backyard and has been training with us. We have a new coach, Pepe from Brazil, who's running our sessions, and Spencer Locke, Tyler Penberthy. Our whole group has just been really, really fun to work with, and just really elite level, and just kind of training and getting ready for the season.
Nice.
Yeah. Our family owns a few different condos, doing some rental and possibly selling them, and working with them a little bit with that. But just enjoying St. Pete. It's one of our favorite places to be during the winter, and we love it here.
I think, we run our camps there in St. Pete. We run like 5 or 6 a year. And it's sometimes more to the 3-day camps. But it's such an underrated volleyball city because you've got Deerfield Beach, Fort Lauderdale. Miami's got a crew, but they don't have a crew of elite players. They got some visitors down there. Like Yenser's a great coach down there running in Miami. And Dylan Cox shows up sometimes. But I think in the beach volleyball circle, we know that there's a ton of athletes in St. Pete and coaches consistently moving there. Do you think there's ever a world where St. Pete becomes the hub? I mean, it's probably always going to be secondary, right? But now there's coaches and players moving there because it's affordable at the very least, and winters are pretty sweet.
Yeah, there are definitely quite a few marks. A lot of people know this, but I'm very trivia oriented. And I just found out that St. Pete, Florida has the world record for most sunny days in a row. Back in the 60s, for like 4 years straight, the sun came out every single day. So there is a heavy chance you can play year round here. And it's funny, whenever I graduated college years ago, Fort Lauderdale was the hub. That was the spot, the Yankee Clipper. That's where everybody trained. And it was like secondary to California, as always. And my mom said, I went to Fort Lauderdale after college. I was there for the winter. I was like, oh, I got to get out to California. I got to get to Hermosa Beach. And just day one, she's like, why do beach volleyball players who don't make that much money live in like Manhattan Beach, the most expensive beach city in the United States?
She said that 20 some years ago.
For 30 years, she said they should move somewhere affordable. She's like, there's got to be some change. And I've always said that if somebody big, I hate to put the pressure on him, but if Phil, had packed it up and when he moved to Orlando said, listen, I want this to be the spot. That's not his personality. And so we know that. But if he was like, listen, let's do what we can. Let's get everybody here, blah, blah, blah. USA Volleyball would have to follow form. But if they all realized it was half price and rental and this and everything else, and you could still play year round, but it would take a titanic shift of something like that to really make it happen.
Like a crew of players that heads out there.
Yeah. It'd have to start with a big name, and USA Volleyball would need to see, oh, wow, we can save, $300,000 a year by doing this. Then I think it would be a possibility. But until then, it seems like they're settled in, and everything is secondary to that. But leading up, so years ago it was, with Steve Grotowski, the Olympiad, Mike DePiro, and that whole crew. I mean, it was Fort Lauderdale, Pompano Beach, flowing into Miami. And I don't know.
was down there too, right? Karambula.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. I mean, just, the list of players goes on and on, air courts and everything. And then something happened, and then this shift, and I just kept hearing, oh, St. Pete. I was like, we'll see. And then once COVID hit, I popped down here, and this place is just a hidden gem. I mean, there are like 10 different places to play, and there's unlimited play. Caleb Queckel and Garrett Peterson and just Marty Lorenz. I mean, there's just people are moving here left and right. And it's for sure secondary talent-wise and players-wise to Hermosa Beach. But, affordability and cost of living and just a great place to live. The city's just a hidden gem. Growing up, even being from the Carolinas, all I heard was Tampa. And then what's the sister city of St. Pete? And you get down here, and the place is amazing.
Oh, I like St. Pete way better than Tampa. We built that Airbnb with a beach volleyball court. If you guys are listening and you want to vacation and be in that same neighborhood, we got an Airbnb with a beach volleyball court. But when we going out to Tampa, it felt and feels too city. And the older I get, the more I have a distaste for big concrete cities. I grew up in Queens, so I got my fill of it. I understood it. And now living closer to beaches, traveling in places where you've got a little bit more space and a lot less dirt, more natural dirt, less slush. It's so nice compared to Tampa because it's right next to it. So you get all the kind of big city. You can drive right in without hellacious traffic. And it's this nice downtown. The St. Pete Pier is unreal. Is it a mile long with parking on it and plays and like its own bars and restaurants way out on the pier? Yeah. It's so cool.
Yeah, they're having concerts. I mean, they did 4 concerts in a row, ludicrous, like just the things that they do, like 7 museums, art and culture, and just like we are downtown. I mean, so we walk to 6 things a week, where we're going to like trivia night and shuffleboard and chess club. And
you played the shuffleboard, world's largest or USA's largest shuffleboard court. I bought a membership while I was there.
That's right. Yeah, there you
go. Okay, so let's dive a little bit into beach volleyball lore and history. you have a place in South Carolina with its own beach volleyball court. So you were able to, at least when I met you, you had a beach volleyball court by your house. And there were just stories of infinite, amazing players from the East Coast and then from the rest of the world who stayed at your place and competed on your court. Why and how were you able to get those players there to hang out at your house? And what was there a methodology behind it? Were you trying to just invite better players to be around you so that you could get better? Or was it also just, like, hey, I've got the space, so why don't you guys come here?
Yeah, it was actually a combo of both. Once I started qualifying, my first AVP was 19, and then I qualified for the first time with Dana Camacho in 19. I kind of realized that, if I worked hard at it, that, maybe I could make a few of these main draws and flow into some professional beach volleyball events. And I was lucky enough to do that. And Myrtle Beach has got a lot of hopper flights on the East Coast. Growing up in New York, you would know that, being a Gulf city, there's a lot of quick, easy flights, and it's dead central the whole entire East Coast. So if you're a road warrior, you can drive up to New York in 8 hours. You can be down in South Beach in 8 hours, quite centrally located. And my family owns this dance competition. It's called Showstopper. It's the largest amateur dance competition in the United States. They've been doing it for 46 years, I believe. And my parents are very supportive. When I graduated college, they were shifting their whole business to Myrtle Beach. And because I grew up in High Point, North Carolina. And so I was going to buy a place. I was going to buy a little condo. And they said, hey, listen, you're going so much with the volleyball tour. We're going so much with dance competition. How about we build this guest house on the bottom? We'll put a volleyball court. It's right on the ocean. And so I said, oh, I guess I'll live for free to make them happy, just to be a good son. No, I'm just kidding.
I mean, they wanted you close. So
yeah, no. They've been very
them.
supportive. Yeah. And it's, they just, their support, has helped a lot of us. And so once I realized that it was something that I could do, like the first day, you and your buddies go out with one ball and you go to the pier and, you're trying to play. And growing up playing college basketball and being kind of competitive, I just said, we need to pass 1,000 balls a day. We need to set up 1,000 balls a day. We do I've always loved the drilling and the training aspect. People are like, we just need one ball. We're just going to play with our friends for fun. It's like, no.
No.
So once I was able to understand this training aspect, I realized I had something very valuable. And so the first guys that I got to come were BJ Saldano and Jake Elliott and Jim Walls.
Legends.
And they ended up coming and staying with me for a year. And the downstairs area, this guest house, they lived with me for a year in 2000, I believe. Yeah,
a year.
Yeah, they were there, and they were the first crop of guys, and they started qualifying. They were taking ninth place. Jake Elliott and BJ Saldana, and Jim and I qualified a few times. Once they moved away, the next guy was Matt Heath. And that was kind of
down in Myrtle Beach now, running his own club down there, right?
That's correct. Yes. Yeah, Matt's very successful over there. He's all time.
He's not much better than Matt. He's such an awesome human being.
He's all time. And it took a while for him to come up. And the funny thing is that the same thing happened with Matt Heath that happened with Nick Lucena and Phil Dahlhauser, is that, you got to come up, you got to check this place out. Myrtle Beach Open, so much fun. And they got off the plane and they just had one backpack and they both stayed for like 2 years straight. Never left. They're like, we'll come check it out for the weekend. Matt Heath stayed for 14 years. He's basically part of the family. And but Nick and Phil lived there for a couple years. And when we met them, they were like the 9th ranked team in Florida. We said, listen, you guys are pretty good. You can maybe qualify for this pro tour. And they were just graduating college. Nick was all about it. But Phil's parents were very, you go to college, you get a real job. And he got this real job. It's like, man, I got to give this volleyball thing a try. And
what was his job? Do you know?
And came up. I do know. He actually worked for a concrete company that poured roads. He'd worked for them in high school. He was literally the guy or the kid at the time, the kid on the truck who would paint the white and yellow lines on the road.
Like dipping a paintbrush.
That's right. There are no pictures or videos. Yeah.
So like if you're gonna have somebody hang off and dip a paintbrush, that's the right guy.
When he lived with me, he was crown molding guy because he didn't need a light.
Great.
Yeah,
Great. Yeah, him and Casey Patterson just like come
that's
through
right.
with that 7 foot wingspan.
That's right. Yeah. And then once those two guys came, it gained status quickly. They won that first AVP in 2005 in Austin. The way the schedule worked out, a lot of times there was like a Florida event, an event in Charleston, and then an event in New York. And sometimes there was like a week off. So there we would have basically 32 guys on the AVP that were all on the East Coast. And I just started hosting them. We had a couple extra houses that we were renting out. And so the numbers went up quickly. Somebody had added up that we've had like 82 different AVP pros who have made a main draw, yourself included, that have come and visited and stayed with us for the week. And, it's kind of just been fun. We feel very lucky to have the space. You go to California and you got like this much room for someone to barely sleep on the floor because things are so expensive. But there, it is a very nice house, and we're lucky to have the room. And that's what we did for the Myrtle Beach Open. I think last year we hosted like 18 people, and we got bodies all over the place. But we're very lucky to have the spot, and we like sharing it with other people too. So
it's so beach volleyball life. Couches, sleeping on floors, and you're like, oh man, you guys are pro volleyball players. It's so cool. And that's what you say as soon as you sign up for a qualifier. You're like, yeah, I'm playing on the pro tour. It's like, well, this is your first qualifier event, so you're about to get spanked. But you're also like sleeping on floors a lot. And a lot of players are doing that. They're trying to like figure out how to put together beds, trying to figure out how to put together travel. And for a long time, if not most people's full career, they're just figuring out accommodations with generous hosts and everybody. So if you're a super fan, guys, little secret, the best thing you can do is just start offering up a home, DM somebody and be like, hey, I got a spot for you if you need a bed for this tournament. And I guarantee that thing will get filled by somebody
yeah,
who's about to go on tour.
yeah, I definitely agree with that.
Now, there's some story where didn't Phil sleep in something like the size of a kitty litter or something? Like, didn't he have like an extremely small, not even room, like an enclave in
So one of the guys who taught us how to play, South Carolina legend, Doug Smith, is a carpenter. And we've got he's quite a charismatic guy. And he helped us design this guest house downstairs area that we have in Myrtle Beach. But he actually built a loft bedroom. So there were like 6 steps up. It did have a full-size bed. It wasn't the extra long one. Upper area was probably only like 4 feet. So if you popped up too fast, then you were hitting your head. But it was inside another room, completely pitch dark. It was everybody's favorite spot to kind of take a nap. And truth be told, what we would do is we would play Halo 2-on-2, and then the loser of the day would have to sleep in the loft bed, which ended up not being that bad. And Phil didn't lose that much, but somehow it just morphed into, this is where Phil Dahlhauser slept. And then I think since then, I've had like 20 different blockers that try to sleep in there to get like the Phil Dahlhauser aura. They think that the placebo effect, they come out a little better. We'll see.
What do you think it is about you that a relationship with it seems like every great player or player that just turns it on has had a contact with you, a partnership with you, a layer of training with you. And I know that not a lot of people know this, but as far as partners go, you churn out amazing blockers. Are you hitting them at the right time? Are you able to teach them? Is it your style of practice? Or just, you were my partner for a couple of tournaments, and I constantly tell stories about how fantastic of a partner you were. My best partner to play with was Adam Roberts. Well, it was Kurt Toppel because he could block, right? And then socially was Adam Roberts, because I tell this story all the time. I go, the best way that you can talk to your partner is the same way that Adam Roberts talked to me. He would set a ball and say, hey, was that set an 8, a 9, or a 10? And if it was anything less than a 10, he would say, great, what would make it a 10? And I said, if everybody could just have that exact same discussion that you had with me, like right there with that series of questions, they would be so much better instantly. So what is it about you that just churns out great players and makes you able to play with everybody?
Yeah, well, I appreciate that. That's I don't think that I've had this lock and key of making people, amazing players. It's a lot of it's been the right timing. I've caught people at the right time. Andy Benish, really hadn't done too much. He grew up with Cole and he had played. And that weekend of Austin, truth be told, sorry, Andy, he was like my 7th pick. I was going down the list. It was like, what about this blocker? What about this blocker? I've already bought my flight. And I was like, God, this guy, I saw him handset a couple of good balls in San Francisco. And, but, as it turned out that we got on the court for like 5 minutes, I was like, oh my God. Oh my God. And, some guys you see the writings on the wall, other guys you didn't. I always thought Phil could be good. I never thought he would be considered one of the greatest of all time. So one big thing with Phil is that growing up
Did
playing
you say
basketball.
considered?
Yeah. Considered, yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. We'll get back
I
to
mean,
that.
there's Karch, Emmanuel, there's Alisson. I mean, Phil's considered one of the greatest. But
Alisson, not greatest of all time. No.
Probably not. Probably not.
No, he needs to be winning for a lot longer first.
I mean, he has a, oh no, Ricardo, gold, silver, and bronze.
Yeah. Okay, Ricardo. I'm in on that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. But it's funny because I noticed it with Phil that he had this massive potential when I played a basketball league with Phil. I was like, because I played basketball my whole life. When we got out on the court, he's left hand, right hand. He's jump hook. I was like, dude, this guy could have been like a shooting guard in the NBA. This is how coordinated this person is. And I was like, whoa, he really has it at that time because I hadn't played as much volleyball. But, a lot of the guys like, Trevor Crabb came to me. He's like, I'd really, like to play some international event, Troy Field, Cody Caldwell. And I'm lucky enough to always kind of have a few points. So, just having a couple 100 points helps get some people into it. And I think a lot of things in life come with doing them more often. So, when you don't know any better and you're just like, oh, that was a great set. You're great. I'm like, hey, no, listen, I've been doing this for a long time. I'm confident in what I do. I can make it better. And I remember playing with, I think it was Billy Strickland. And I'm setting him. He's like, that was great. That was great. That was perfect. That was perfect. And then he hits the ball out. And I was like, Billy, he's like, well, it could have been a little more inside. I was like, well, then it's not perfect. Like, what's a better system for this? Like, tell me. And, with this 9 out of 10 out of 10 that I say, I also say that anything above a 7 out of 10, you should probably still side out. But you're just taking away some of your options. Maybe the ball's too far inside and you can't really turn it line, So, if it's not a 10 out of 10, we can still deal with it. But a lot of the guys that I've had, I've made a joke that Justin Phipps finds a lot of guys first. Okay. And then I grab them from Justin Phipps and then Nick grabs them from me, which actually, if you look at all three of us having partners, and that's just is what it is. And Justin's had a, amazing long career, We take different approaches. He's cracking the whip and I'm not. Yeah. But a lot of it is maybe confidence or me telling these guys that they can do it, Like Cody came to me and we're playing halfway through the season and he's like, I'm just not good. I need to switch to defense. I'm going to play behind David Lee. He's super honest and open front with me. And I was like, listen, you are a good blocker. You're world class. You can do this. But just wasn't listening. At the end of the season, he's like, what should I do? And I said, listen, just own up to it. Just be like, I'm the best blocker in the world. I can do this. People aren't getting the ball past me. Next year, it just snapped. Something clicked in his head. The guy's blocking everything. Paul Lottman's the same one. Paul Lottman and I trained together for 4 months in the preseason, played one AVP, didn't go that well. He switches it up and he's like, am I a blocker? Am I a defender? And just owned up to it. And the guy's world class. And so I think a little bit of it, playing my style, everybody's doing this new 2-ball that I've been doing for 20 years. I'm playing with these amazing hitters. I'm like, Mark, hit it, hit it. And
I'm like, no, you do it.
I've gotten served every single ball my entire career. I always have, always will. And, I relish the challenge. But, I I'm like, listen, I'm taking 40% of the court. You got 60% of the court. People start doing that continuously. You start getting confidence. You're Andy out there, and I'm like, Andy, take 65% of the court. He's like, okay, I got this. And I think confidence, and a lot of the guys too learn professionalism, a warm up routine, hydration packets, and, taking care of your body and doing different things. I mean, Andy, he didn't bring water for like our first 4 practices. I'm like, okay,
Oh my God.
Andy, I can bring you water, but here's the powder. Here's the thing. I'm going to, I want you to do
Eric's
this.
on adversity training. He was just like trying to challenge himself to the T.
Exactly. Yeah. Eric was another one that we're in New Zealand and he's not wearing sunscreen. I'm like, dude, this is melanoma capital of the world. 3-degree burns, had to go to the hospital. But
no.
Oh yeah.
Really?
True story. Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Like our third day there.
I've got most of the Zahn stories, but there's always one that pops up, and the one where he just houses McDonald's going into a practice to see what he could play like, feeling his absolute worst on like a stomach problem. He goes, well, if I ever get the stomach flu during a tournament, I got to know how I'm going to be. So he just housed like 4 happy meals and just went and played a tournament with it. That's one way. When you look at, that led me in a couple directions, because one, the development of confidence, when you can say, instead of, and most people that are like listening to us, they think everybody's always saying your middle, my middle. And when you give somebody, because you want them to hit more of the court, you can annihilate those rules. And I keep trying to get this to people to get off of their, you need to share the court. Like, if you're a better side out player, I want you taking more balls because it's good for our team. Like, we both earn the same amount of money when we win. And if you're siding out more balls, I'm giving it to you. And it's interesting to think about if somebody plays that way for a whole summer, where you're telling them constantly, you're the big dog. And then the next year where they're feeling super big doggy, they turn it on for a couple of years. That's got to have a big play on somebody's confidence, because not everybody got to be that big dog in college. I certainly was not a big dog in college. And until 2 or 3 years into playing indoor pro, like, I didn't want people to set me the ball. And then I had to figure out, okay, give me every single ball. And then you get that confidence out of it. So I bet that's a huge part of seeing somebody's improvement. Do you think that confidence plays into it?
I think it could. I definitely think it could, if I'm looking back at it. And one thing is that people, and I think people get this about me quickly if you meet me and you play with me on the court, but all the time I'll get, you played with Andre Beloff. You're looking to develop the next international guy, or you're playing with Andy Benish and you're looking for the next young thing. And I'm like, I am only trying to win. That is it. I don't care about anything. I'm just trying to win. And I think I can win with this person flat out. And I think people understand that. And then Andy's like, oh, he chose me because I'm like, he can work me. And he's like, oh God, he just wants to win. He thinks he can win the most with me. And so whoever it may be, Trevor on the international tour, or Troy Field, or any of these guys, I do think it builds a confidence that maybe they see later in life. And Trevor's going to have it either way. I mean, let's call that what it is. But, there's different things. Phil talked about it, like Laura Ludwig. It took her, world-class player, came from indoor, but it took her a while to figure out how to win, right? Phil's like, I'm lucky. I learned how to win in Florida, and it was hard to do that. At that time, now he goes back, he can win Florida tournaments without jumping. But at the time, it's hard for him to do. You learn how to win in New York and New Jersey. A lot of people do that. Laura had to learn how to win at the Grand Slam World Tour event. So it took her a while, and the same thing with like confidence that, I think that you're instilling in people. And it's more than just like, hey, I think you're the man. You're proving it over a whole season of like, you're taking the middle and everybody wants to serve you. And I mean, facts be told, who do you want to serve, me or Troy Field? I mean, I know I'm getting every single serve. Everybody knows it. And everybody's just like, where's Adam? Scoot over more. No, more. So I'm like, why are we 50-50 here? They're not even looking to your line. And, I have been able to play with these amazing attackers. And so I do think it builds a confidence. And it's a little more than just like I said, saying you're the man. I read a quote from some of the Duke basketball point guards, and they step on campus and they're the freshman year, and Coach K hands the ball and he says, "This is your team," and they're like, "Whoa," you know. And of course, I'm nowhere near that level, but I've played for a long time and I've had some good success. But I'm like, hey, listen, you're the man on this team. You know what I mean? Be the best. You get that free ball, you got to be the rock. Just flat out, you got to be the rock. Like, there's no other chances about it. You have 4 chances to swing. You better put all 4 of them and just make them
Yeah, you better be 100%.
pay. Make them pay for serving or accidentally free balling one to you. And it's worked out. It's worked out. And I do think it flows. I guess you'd have to check with the guys and see that the players I've been able to play with.
Well, I mean, so many things like hide in your career that you don't realize what was happening until you look back at it with a different lens, and you're like, oh man, that probably led me here, or that one thing might have messed with my head for 2-3 years, And when you're telling people that you're giving them confidence, you're giving them liberty to take over a court. And even if they get one win doing that, imagine what that does for them for the rest of their career, knowing like I drove a lot of confidence from when my partner, very early on, I was like 19 or 20, he busted his shoulder, could not swing. He had to swing with his non-dominant hand, and he just put me on 2. Right? This is, again, a New York Open semifinal. So sorry, guys, but pretty trash volleyball. But the fact that I was going on 2 for an entire match, while the other team chirped at me, calling me a co-ed player, and it's girls volleyball, whatever, but we won. I was like, you're getting beat by a co-ed player. So here we go. And I leaned on that confident display for years, saying, look what I can do on 2. Look at if somebody's cramping or if somebody needs me, I can take over. And then if you can just learn how to carry that into your other matches, instead of then thinking, it's even, thinking maybe they're picking on me, thinking, oh, my partner's not good enough. Like, instead of, it's my time to take over, and having that. And if you have that mentality, I just feel like that goes forever and a mile in terms of playing and in terms of winning.
Yeah. And going back to, like you said, the check is still the same, both sides or whatever. I mean, I've played with people where they'll like 2 aces in a row and then 2 blocks in a row, and I didn't even touch the ball. And a lot of my partners know back, and I'll be like, listen, if you don't think I'm having fun, you've lost your mind. This is an absolute blasphemy. I will stand here the whole entire match and do nothing. And then I'll do backhand springs with you, and I'll hold that check up afterward. I said, hey, listen, my friend Doug Smith shook my hand. He said, when you start playing volleyball, first thing you got to do is get a good partner. And I wrote that down. I'm always just trying to get the best partner I can.
Is there something that you see in players that you think, man, they've got it? Like, okay, so when I first saw Andy, he was a big man who moved like an athletic 6'3" guy. And when I see 6'3" guys, you see a bunch of real athletes. When you see a lot of this 6'7", 6'9", it's not, and everybody just be quiet, because it's not that tall people are lanky or uncoordinated. It's just statistically more likely that people are uncoordinated than they are coordinated. So just because there's millions of 6'3" guys and maybe hundreds of thousands of 6'9" guys, right? You're bound to see a lot more goofy people, and the pool of 6'3" guys is deep. But when you're looking for a big guy and a blocker or somebody you can win with, do you look at the way they move? Do you look at the way they handle themselves emotionally on the court? Do you look at their past results and just find their number and shoot them a text? Like, what does your eye catch when you look at players?
Yeah, I think it's everything that the 100 people per organization at the NFL Combine do all together at once is the same thing that I'm doing. I'm looking at height, weight, athleticism, sprinting ability. One thing I do take big into play is I think this person is a winner or not.
Hmm.
And I think that we've had tons and tons of players that, aren't all in. They're not going for it. They don't want to win at whatever it takes. And I think that that's a big thing that's overlooked, not only in sports, but in our sport, but the NFL Combine. It's just like, oh, high weight sprint, this guy's in, count him up. I'm like, dude, this guy in college, the other guy was a winner.
Hmm.
And I really do look for that because that's what
How do
I
you
want
see
to
that?
do.
Like,
Um,
what's one sign or one example where you saw it and you went, "Yup, that guy wants it. He wants to be in it long term, and he's all about it." And so, he's somebody who's going to go somewhere, or somebody that I definitely want to play with.
yeah, Logan Weber caught my heart early. I think you brought him out to California. We were training out there. And then, the rumor was there's this big, tall blocker coming out. I said, I've seen this story. Let's see what happens. And he was playing a tournament. I believe it was in Captain Bill's, North Carolina. He lost early when he shouldn't have lost. Took a bag of balls and just went out there and started ripping jump serves on the side court for about 10 minutes afterwards. And I could just tell that he wanted it. I was like, man, I'd really love to play an event with this guy. And we did get to play a few, and we had some really good wins together. And I think Logan's a winner. Funny story about yourself. So I don't know if you remember, but when you and I played together, somebody, wasn't us, somebody had added up the points. Okay. And they said, you're going to be the last team in the main draw for the last two events, Manhattan and Chicago.
Huh.
Okay. I don't know if you remember this.
I
And
don't
people were
remember the
coming.
points thing, but it just sucks that we were just chasing points to
I
get
know,
in.
and I know, and it wasn't us. It wasn't us. And we were like, well, and you're like, I can block a little bit. Let's do it.
Where's
And
Rafi? He's always like studying
I do
points.
think that's who it was. I do think that's who
Huh.
it was. And so people were like, well, be warned. This guy's kind of a yeller. He's New York blamer. He's going to be screaming at you. And I was like, but I think this guy's a winner. Let's see how it works. And you were one of my favorite partners that I've ever played with. Everything you did just made me feel like you wanted to win.
Mm.
Like you yelling, go, 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 go. Wasn't like, go, 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 go. I was like, this guy wants to win and I am in on this. And I thoroughly loved playing with you. One of my favorite partners ever. Yeah.
100%. I mean, sets and
Yeah.
passes wherever you want it. You're always in it, always engaged. And then just socially, just being able to vibe with each other, get reps. You always showed frustration with yourself but never for your partner, like never like a head hang for your partner. And that was something that I yelled. And in the beginning of my career, most of my career, I didn't feel like I was ready to go until I got my first red card. Had I got a second, it's over. But I just kind of needed that fire to go early. I don't know if it just came from my upbringing or what it was, but I needed to feel like I was in a fight and the guy next to me was ready to brawl.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of times it turned on refs. I was like kind of almost like a little Michael Jordan waiting for something to pick a fight.
Yeah.
But I never felt ever out of control. I just needed the red card, the aggression to go. And some of my players mistook it for being like angry at them. I was just
Yeah.
like, no, I play angry to win.
Yeah. And I realized that quickly and people's feelings were hurt. And I was like, not mine. I'm in on this. This guy wants to win. And where do I sign up? So that is one thing that I'm looking for in partners though, is like, does this guy want to win? And there's multiple check marks, the gym, the training, taking care of your body, all these different things. A lot of people really want to win while they're standing on the court, but there's just so many more things encompassed of that. We're not in the 70s anymore. We're weekend warriors,
Smoking cigarettes in between.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's another thing too, is that if you want a shock to the system, come to the big time world tour stuff. And all these people, you can beat in their head, you got to train, you got to work out. You're playing before the main draw and you see Sharif and Ahmed out there full lifting with two trainers doing sprints on the bungees before a world tour event.
And
you're
everyone's
like,
got their
whoa.
cameras on you during your practice. And you're like, these guys are allowed to film my practice. And there's like 9 cameras there just waiting to see like what you might do before they might play you.
Yeah.
It's bonkers.
Yeah.
And, AVP, AVP events, everybody kind of stays in different hotels, so it's usually like spread out. There's, like I said, a lot of people in couches and stuff. But you go to FIVB and World Tour, and quite different from Norseca, by the way. But you go
Yes.
to FIVB and there's 12, 13 people like in the gym of the hotel at the same time you are, almost like there's no room and everybody's banded and everybody's, you're like, wait, your match is in 4 hours. And like, yeah, I got to get ready. And it's like, this is this is where it's real. This is where people are doing
Yeah.
everything to win and doing the right things.
Yes. Yeah. And I think a lot of the guys, like, Trevor caught that early, and, Troy Field and a lot of these guys were able to see that early. You can say it till you're blue in the face, but when you see the big boys doing it, it's impressive. It's really cool. And I love that aspect of it. And I'm doing the same thing too for whenever I play East End volleyball tournaments. People are like, "What are you doing?" I was like, "I gotta get up at 5 a.m. and I gotta warm up for the tournament." And it is real, and I don't think I would be able to play this long without, having this routine and having, these aches and pains. You get 800,000 miles on a car, there's going to be a lot to it. So for me, I might look okay or whatever, but I feel like I wake up and I'm like a 3 out of 10, my back and I
I've
do
always
this.
wondered that because you always look in incredible shape. You move easy, you move light, and your warm up is you show up and it's your ritual. You get in there, bands are going quick. You're doing
Yeah.
your runs back and forth, doing a little bit of agility. It's very very similar to Hayden, I think,
Mhm.
where except you're willing to chat. John Hayden shows up and you don't talk to him for his 20-minute warm up, like,
Right.
and he doesn't want to talk to you extra afterwards. Going home, getting my massage, getting my body work in, getting off my feet. It's like this
Yeah.
guy's a ninja with his body.
Yeah. I've kind of ramped mine up, and it's almost an hour and a half, like 6 days a week. And like I said, I wake up at like a 3 or 4 out of 10. But if I do this whole mobility warm up, 20 minutes on the bike, stretching hips and, some lifting, I feel like a 9 out of 10. So
Mm.
it's kind of the point now where I don't really even have a choice. It's either feel awful or feel amazing. So it's just something that I've kind of developed, and I do try to push on different people. And, when you're like, my partner's 26, he's like, "What do you mean warm up for 2 hours?" He's like, "I am ready." Easy.
And he will go with that hybrid immediately and just
Yes.
lay into it. He's got
Yeah.
that hybrid serve is nasty. Yeah, I think they can be dangerous.
Yeah. He's playing really good right now.
Yeah, I want him to have a little more killer, like a little more anger. I say I don't think everybody needs anger to play, but when I
Yeah.
see somebody being consistently too nice and then they kind of slow down instead of coming back harder, it's like,
Yeah.
let's let's find something that pisses you off. And
Yeah.
not everybody needs it. Like I said, like I don't know if Theo
That's
needs it.
correct. And that's actually something, along with, his blocking technique and, the last like 4 months, that's one of the things I've been working with, is that he gets this fire, and especially against his buddies, he wants to yell at them, "Oh, you're too small, little boy." But, that's the first set. We'll win the first set. And then he actually is a very nice person, and he feels bad about it. And the second set, he's like, "I'm kind of sorry I said that." We'll lose the second set, battle in the third. And it definitely, it's a mind state with people that you have to figure out, like, no offense to Trevor, but he doesn't care. He'll just keep saying that you suck the whole entire time. He'll say, your family sucks.
Warm up
And
in the players'
yeah,
tent
it's like,
online, it won't stop.
yeah. He doesn't care. He has no remorse and no whatever. And it works for him. And he's one of the best players in the world. But so you have to find that level, of like screaming at someone and then feeling bad later. Nick Luceno went through that. Nick played better fired up, but he didn't like that he was, upset and yelling at people and the refs and stuff. But, maybe
Really?
kind of similar to you, like, he needed that fire, because Nick truly is an absolutely beautifully nice guy, an amazing person. And
Yeah, he's
so
fun.
even when some of that stuff is
But he's
brought up,
also lethal, right?
and he, oh yeah,
Boxing champion in college.
oh yeah, oh yeah, undefeated intramural
Absolutely
boxing
lethal.
champion. Yes, yeah,
When you were playing, so some of the guys that I did look up to when I saw Nick starting to win, and then when I saw Casey Jennings, and some other guys that were 100% fire.
hmm
You know, I and I've discussed this with somebody else where I'm like, I think you have to, number one, you have to be able to back that up, and you have
Yeah.
to be automatic in order to hold on to the partner that you're super fiery with. But did you ever try to imitate like a persona that you wanted to be on the tour? Did you ever look at a player and be like, that's kind of the emotional player that I want to be? Or do you think that you were just naturally yourself and it never even came to you?
I emotionally, I don't think I ever tried to imitate anybody. It's just, um, I've always put a lot of pressure on myself. These are my goals. I'm setting them. And, I have coaches still to this day that are like, hey, be a little easy on yourself. Like you're trying hard out here. You're 48 years old and, diving all into the pole and stuff. Um, And so I've really never tried to imitate anybody. I've just kind of always been who I am. And, I've appreciated those. It's funny you bring those two guys up. People ask, because they think I'm ultra competitive. I think the three most competitive people I've ever met are Casey Jennings, Nick Lucen, and Paul Baxter. Absolute premium, highest competitive guys I've ever met in my entire life. And yeah, I always looked up to them. Three of the absolutely amazing players that accomplished so much and really worked hard towards all their goals. But yeah, it was never, I mean, of course, you couldn't not like Karch's demeanor on the court. Of course, I wasn't ever trying to imitate him. I was lucky enough to train with him, and I played him, I think, 3 times on the AVP and got to know him a little bit. I was never trying to emulate his enthusiasm or his whatever, but his demeanor was just so unbelievable, all the way into his warm up in the corner where he would just look at you and flip up his hat and like start shaking his knees. And you're in the players' tent and you're like, golly, it's already 3-0. We ain't got on the court yet. Dang it. I'm a little nervous about playing this guy. And I remember my dad always talks about this. One of the first times Matt Heath and I qualified, I think we were the 32 seed and he and Mike Lambert, the 1 seed. And my dad was like, oh, wow, I get to see this legend play. And, he's going to kind of let his guard off a little bit. And he walked on the court and he flipped up that hat. And just my dad was like, oh, God, Adam's in trouble. Oh, no, this guy, he isn't letting up for 1/2 second.
You're hoping that 32 seed just shows up. Like the 1 seed is like, just, it's early. They got the 8
Yeah,
a.m. match. They're not going to be interested. Like, we'll
yeah,
catch them before they wake up.
yeah, yeah. And not that I try to take that attitude or that demeanor, but I've kind of always personally felt like, I don't care who it is. I don't care if I was playing Nick and Phil when they were number 1 in the world. I've always felt that I can beat anybody in the world. Something happened. Maybe it's 1 in a million. Maybe it's some crazy windy day. But I also feel like I can lose to anybody in the world. So I don't care if I'm playing first round of the Big Shot Championships and it's the 1 versus 64. I am invested and focused, and I'm trying my hardest. And so I think that's something that's helped my career.
Yeah, so many people go into it, and I certainly fell into it. The year after me and Hudson did pretty well, getting into the main draw and like being consistent, and then you show up to your first big tournament after a couple of decent wins, and this happened to Evan and Logan,
Mhm.
where now you're expecting that you're so far beyond the level of a qualifier team, and it's like, no, you're literally one place. You're a point or two, a gust of wind or two different from where they are,
Yeah.
and just a couple of those gusts of winds. But you see that separation, or the cockiness that you get once you're main draw, and then it's a team that came out of the qualifier. I was the
Yes.
12 seed. Like, come on, guys.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, the 1 seed difference is really going to make you dominate here. But
Right.
I see teams fall into it, like Logan and Evan really fell into high expectations because they won the second tier AVP. They won a bunch of those, like the Gold Series
Yes,
or the
that's correct.
Bronze Series, whatever it was. And then for me and Hudson, it definitely fell into it. And then you see it. You see people not ready to bite hard against teams that are at their hungriest.
Yeah.
Like that team coming out of a qualifier, the team with the 32 seed, they are at their absolute hungriest.
Yeah.
And if you don't show up ready for battle, they're bringing it. And it doesn't matter. I don't think it matters if you're the 1 seed or the 12 seed. Like, you eventually have to show up. And I
Yeah,
felt Nick and Phil sleep a couple of times against me and then just decide to turn it on. And I was
yeah,
like, oh, that hurt.
yeah.
Like, oh, I see what
Yeah,
you did.
I thought they went to three too many times in their career. I'm like, guys, if you beat them faster, a little more rest. Well, I'm here to tell you that in 2001 in the Dallas AVP Open, Karch Kiraly was not sleeping on Adam Roberts and Matt Heath as the 32 seed. He wasn't even close. Not 1 point.
Yeah. I think your Karch was probably my Haydn. I mean, just consistently the 14 and 15, and he was always like the 2 or 3 and would just show up and work us and get out of there as fast as he could. Like, he was not interested in making a
Yeah,
point last a split second longer than it had to, and
nope,
then just get off the court and get back to the 10. I was like, wow,
yep, all
he showed
business.
up to do work. Yeah. Um, any stories or any signs of when you see somebody who you think could make it but they don't? What's the one sign that you see in somebody and you're like, nah? So I know the sign that you want to recruit somebody who wants to win.
Yeah,
What does it look like when somebody doesn't have that, or when you're like, man, this is going to be so much talent gone to waste?
not to throw the indoor guys under the bus or whatever, but I see it more with indoor guys coming out than anybody else. Indoor players that have had ultra success at the collegiate level, maybe gone overseas and played professionally indoor, made a lot of money, probably way more than they are making or would, or they're going to take this knock at the beach. In my career, I have never seen an indoor player have success their first year, unless they are Hawaiian, because the Hawaiian guys grew up their whole entire careers on the beach. But I mean, if you look back at even like Paul Lottman, John Hyden, I played John Hyden twice his first year on the beach,
Mm.
his first spin ever in Florida, and it was like 4 mile an hour winds. And he's running all over the place. And BJ Saldana and I are just chopping him up, and we beat him. And I don't think we ever beat him again. But it takes those guys about a year. And I think the knock is just so much for them to take. I mean, I can probably remember 20 indoor players that were like, they have this attitude, like, they're hitting balls and they're 2 feet out and they're like, oh, that's in indoor. That's the feeling that I get. And it ends up that the talent level is just through the roof. They just don't want to take that knock. I would imagine today's example would be, a world-class number 20 tennis player that comes over to pickleball, and then all of a sudden they're like number 100 in the world. And they're just like, no, I'm good. I've done my thing. And for the newer viewers, James Saul is a good example of that. Came over, world-class, amazing indoor, volleyball resume through the roof. Didn't have that much success playing with his first year, like, breakthrough like he's having right now, a gold medal. And, we knew it was there, but if for some reason he decides to stop after that injury, then we don't see this gold medal that he just received in Australia, New Zealand, I believe.
Yeah.
And then, who knows what the future brings, but it's always known that the talent is completely there. But does he want to take this drop in indoor professional pay, in indoor professional status, in indoor professional fans, overseas and different things? And
Yeah, and when 10 or 12 guys are leaning on you, looking to you like you're the god,
right,
and you're going to save them through a match, and then you have to go through a year of everyone on tour, even the qualifier guys, looking at you like you're a quack. It's like, are you willing to let go of your ego, or just fight back hard for
yeah,
enough time to then prove yourself, knowing you're going to take your licks again? It's like going back to an internship, or like redoing yourself in your career. If you retire
yeah,
from somewhere else and you want to change careers, you got to be a scrub again in
yeah,
whatever direction you go, and just be open to that. And no, it's, hey, a year, 2, 3, maybe 4, and then you'll get back up to that. But you're not an expert in this, so you don't
that's right,
carry that same big dog mentality across fields, across endeavors, or anything like
that's
that.
right, that's right. I mean, look at Paul Lottman. He's on the cusp, and he's like, am I blocker or defender? I mean, it took him a long time to break through, and now he's one of the greatest players in the United States.
Mm-hmm.
It really took him a while, and his perseverance was very impressive. But if any point he quits when he's like qualifier guy and he's split blocking and doesn't have it figured out. And, I remember Rafi Paul's calling me up and he's like, dude, this guy was in the Olympics. He's got to be absolutely amazing right now, right? And I was like, not yet. Like, it's going to take him a little bit. You know what I mean? I mean, he was always amazing, but not to the level that he is now. And it just took a while. But
Do you think there's a shortcut for indoor players to become better, faster at beach? Like, do you see them do something that you're like, I for example, I just always see indoor players and I go, stop thinking this is beach. Like,
yeah.
on a lot of your swings, like, stop thinking about the high line that you see on TV. Stop thinking about the cut shot. Like, just hit over a blocker high and hard and rip. Do what you're fantastic at right now. We'll add on the rest of the stuff later after this tournament. But do you think that there's some shortcut that more good, solid indoor players should take when converting to beach, or a pitfall?
Yeah. I've always thought that, and it came to fruition at the highest level whenever I was lucky enough to play with Brad Lawson in 2015.
Oh, man, such a good player. Yeah.
Brad Lawson, as I'm sure most people know, was the National Player of the Year. He was the national champion at Stanford, right around that same time, 2012, 13.
And not huge. He was what, 6'4", 6'5"?
Yeah, he wasn't that big. Yeah.
Legit.
And I don't follow indoor, but I was told that he hit like 98% in that championship game and only had one fault, and it was a back row attack that he was like this far over. He would have the perfect game. So anyway, I noticed it that when he came out to the beach, and I took a bigger chance on him because he grew up in Hawaii. So I'm thinking he's played a lot of beach, which he had, and he was very skilled in all aspects of the game. But I thought it was so crazy because this guy could just, like, 7 balls in a row, just like bounce it over the fence, over the stadium, but when he got a cut shot down, he was celebrating like, I'm like, no, that's
bad dog. Just wrap him on the snout with a newspaper.
Like the opposite. I'm like, cut, eye line, cut. I'm like, oh, I got like a 3-foot bounce. So yeah, I do agree with you. Like, go with what you're good at. When Cody came out, I remember we walked out to that 1440 tryout, and Andy Benish grabbed me and he's like, this is the best high hands hitter I've ever seen in my entire life. He goes, this guy, high hands. And he went back-to-back national championships.
Unbelievable. We just ran a practice where all we did was hit high lines, and I was trying to get him and Logan to just flatten them out. And I was like, I kept putting the surfboard higher and higher and higher, and he just kept hitting down over me. And I go, Cody, this is your answer. I go, just hit flat over people. Be Theo, and rip. And even he was starting to see like, oh, I should just do this.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, go on. But his high line can be so sick if he just does.
It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. But when I played with him, he started to get a little cute. And I was like, hey, you won 2 national championships. And how'd you win it? High hands. I was like, let's not reinvent the wheel. Let's do what you're good at. And I do think that's a big cue for some of the indoor guys. And, you have these things like I was talking about where, they're calling a double. And they're like, well, that wouldn't be a double indoor, or you hit the ball out by 2 feet. Like, that wouldn't be like that. That needs to be gone. Like, the second you walk out there. Yeah, I mean, I remember I had it. I mean, it was a whole different aspect. I'm like, well, I could beat this guy in basketball. Well, who cares? We're not playing basketball. Doesn't matter. We're not playing indoor.
Chess 9 times out of 10.
That's right. Get over here. But we're not playing. They're not playing indoor. That's over with. Your career is over with. Thanks for coming out, Kurt Toppel. Let's try to hand set this ball correctly.
Yeah. Why do you think players forget or don't do what works 10 times out of 10? So I've a little insider info to our team. I've been working with Logan for a while, and we know that he becomes utterly unstoppable when he rips high, hard seam like Gibb and high, hard cross. And he can put more pace on the ball than Gibb could. And in his best finishes, that's what he did. And every time he got dug during those best finishes were when he went for something like a 6'2" guy should hit, like a cut shot or this little high line. And then we remind him, go back to it. Why do you think people are so unwilling to be boring and do the same thing over and over and over again when, all of the points that Steph scores are from beyond the 3-point line. Like, he doesn't get bored with shooting threes.
Right.
Why does it
I,
happen?
I think a lot of times you're out there and you're thinking like, I need to have a few more things in my tool basket, in my tool belt that I'm dealing with, and one cut shot can just open up all my high line shots. You know what I mean? And so I think a lot of people get in that mentality of like, well, I just can't do this every single time. Eventually, they're going to stop me. And a lot of times, it seems like with hitters, getting blocked straight down is like, getting dunked on. And it's a little bit of a pride ego, you know? And so most people are unstoppable when they're hitting high deep C, right? Okay, well, they get blocked. Then it's like, for a guy like me that's like high line guy, it's like, well, you dug it. No big deal. That's not embarrassing to me.
Yeah,
I've done it every single time. You probably should dig it. And so I think there's definitely an ego thing because, the biggest thing in our sport is, spiking the ball at 75 miles an hour, and then when that is boom, straight down blocked, it does become a bit of an ego thing. I think it's a little bit of that and a little bit of, well, I got to do something else. I got to be able to open something else up. And
do you think they do? I mean, if that's something where that's why they change, do you think people need more than 2.5 good swings, like good locations or crispy types of swings?
I think as the level increases, I think you need a few different attacks. I think more than 2.5, because if that's all you're doing, I think you're stoppable. Even all the way to like a Taylor Sander, who, maybe is the best attacker in the United States. I think eventually, last year or 2 years ago, Cody and I played them. And basically the way we played it is he just blocked ball. Okay. And I just stood in the middle of the court. And truth be told, Taylor Sanders doesn't have the best shots in the world, but he doesn't need them. People are sitting there and they're bent down and they're like scared half to death, and he can just poke it like 30 feet in the air and nobody's going to get it. Well, when we played him in New Orleans, I just stood in the middle of the court and I said, Cody, he's going to go OT. He's going to go through your hands. He's going to bounce like probably 4 out of the stadium. But if you can get me 2 blocks set where you keep diving and throwing your arm and spread blocking, and I can get 2 of those digs, I think we can take him to 3 sets. And that's what happened. That's what happened. So even at like, at that time we're saying Cody is a little, block deficient. He was thinking, he got 2 blocks. 7 of them bounced over the New Orleans. The fans were going crazy. They were ripping their shirt off. They had to punt it back. We had to stop the game. Hold on. I don't know where the ball is, but that's fine.
But
that's fine.
2%, like you get 2.5 blocks per set and you're in the world tour.
That's right.
So
that's right. So, yeah, I do think when you can be stopped. You can't be a one-trick pony. You got to have a little bit more. And he's a perfect example. And now he's incorporated some things. And see, he's different because he played beach his whole life. He was like the junior national champion. And so his beach background, I know this because Taylor Crabb told me he beat him in the finals of like the under 16 world U.S. championships and the other under 18 world championship or U.S. championships.
Huh.
Taylor grew up playing beach, so he's a little bit different. He didn't need the full year, but the full year did help him. And, he's turned into obviously one of the greatest players in the United States.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. So, yeah, I just take a look at people and I go like, they keep thinking I have to be a step ahead of the defense. I have to be a step ahead of the defense.
Yeah.
Instead of you need to prove to me that you can stop me.
Yeah. I do like that aspect. I do like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
And who cares if you get blocked?
Once they stop your best 2 times in a row and it wasn't luck, like you also have to measure offensively. Did they just get lucky? Like, am I going to change anything because like I hit him in the neck? It went into the net and then he got an open net set. Like, I don't know. I'm not really changing that. And I just think people kind of get bored. They get antsy, giving too much credit to a defense, saying that they're going to be in position. Dude, we're in the right position for 90% of the swings. We still don't stop 80% of them. So yeah, you gotta make somebody prove it, I think.
A good testament to that is if you get a good coach or player on a box and you're like, okay, I'm going to get in the pocket and I'm going to unload. here's 10 balls as hard as I can hit it. I'm drawing a circle where I'm hitting it. Let me see you dig it, get a good set out of it, and then put it away with no defense. And it's hard. It's hard. That's another reason that I really tell my blockers that, if you see it, you have freedom. You have freedom to press. If we double up sometimes, if I'm standing at an angle and you block it straight down, I'm happy with that,
So you tell your blockers, like, go for it and read whatever you want to see, and that can override a play call.
I do. But they have to earn it. They can't just if you're taking, 5, 6, 7, 8 away, and I'm like, hey, I could have got that. You need to earn my trust. I need to earn your trust too. And so I think that makes a lot of these guys a little bit more confident blockers, and a little bit higher level. And, and like I said, I'm fortunate enough to play with a lot of good blockers. But I remember Trevor playing against Trevor quite often. And, if you look at his career, his first few defenders were Billy Allen, John Mayer, Rosie, and his brother, right? I mean, just borderline Hall of Famers, right? And I remember he had this skinny block. He's blocking line. And I would have 4 different angle hits. I could have middle angle, here. And I don't care how good Rosie was, he's not getting the middle hit and the sharp hit, right? Mm-hmm. And we played, Avery Drost and I played him and Skylar Del Sol in the Fort Lauderdale FIVB World Tour event. And this was in Country Quota. And I remember first ball, we go up and Trevor just dives in. Skylar's in the middle and he dives in the middle. And I was like, oh, he's diving in now. Everything has changed. He's just blocking ball. Sorry, Skylar. He didn't trust Skylar as much. And he's like, I'm just blocking ball. And I was like, everything's changed. Everything's changed. Yeah. And that could be a mentality that happens with, someone, like Logan or someone along those lines, to where they're like, wait. I also remember seeing this whenever the first time, 2 blockers, when the World Tour and the USA Tour was changing, and it'd be like, wait, he was blocking and digging angle. That blocker who's playing defense doesn't know what he's doing. You're supposed to be over here.
But that works so much.
Yeah.
Doubling up is the best. I mean,
yeah.
If you just commit to a full double up, an offense just doesn't believe that you'll do that.
Yeah.
It's almost too much of an easy setup. If you sit line and you just sit line with your blocker and your defender and you hang out, or you both go in the cross and you're like, no way is he leaving this. I think it's dangerous to double up too hard in the cross and leave that drop shot open if it's tight. Yeah. But double up in the line, why not? Guys, try doubling up at minimum once per set. At maximum 3 times per set if you don't get the dig. Do you have any, before we go, do you have any tips for people who are practicing, people who are looking to encourage a group the same way you did? I think we have similar stories in that I eventually messaged all of the best players in the Northeast. And I was like, guys, we keep playing for 10 hours to be able to play good volleyball for a half hour as the sun's going down when we can't see. And then we all get our asses kicked on the AVP qualifiers. Let's commit to driving together and training for a day and a half where we can get 8 hours of training, which that 8 hours of training in a day and a half is so much more valuable than any volleyball we're getting during a tournament. And then you did the same. You got all of the players together and committed to training. Do you have any advice for that, for people who are trying to build their group? Is that the right way that you went about it? And what would you say to somebody who is trying to push that envelope of skill and is also trying to get players to be on the same page as them?
Yeah. I do have some tips and advice. And, we talk about, 80 different players have come and stayed with me in South Carolina. Well, I also had probably, a span of 7 years where it was just me and one other guy. So not only, have I been able to train with 3 teams on there and a bunch of balls, and, I've also had 4 balls and 1 guy, and I can just get almost just as much done. This morning, I went out with my buddy Abram, and we had 4 balls, and it was just me and him, and we just went through an amazing practice. We got hundreds of touches very quickly. I think there's a lot of drills and a lot of things, a lot of technical stuff that people can do that they don't really do. I was just telling him this morning, for about a month during my preseason, I get to the court early. I do have 20 balls now, but I used to do this whenever I only had 4. And I just toss up and I just hand contact, high line, high line, high line, cut, cut, cut. And I do all 4 corners just before the practice starts. And I am looking for the just absolute perfect hand contact. And it really kind of tunes me in before the season starts. And I think people have this misconception that, they always need 4 people, always need 4 people. A lot of times 4 people is a negative because you get out there, we're going to work on passing and setting. You're 7 minutes in and they're like, you just want to play? They're like, let's just play. So I love 3-person training sessions because you cannot play with 3 people, And so, there's endless amount of drills and different things that you can do with just 2 people. With 3 people, And, another thing too is that, I think, a lot of people are big on no jump. A lot of people, which I think is a great game. A lot of people are big on volleys. But I think a really underrated game, if you just have 2 people, is one-on-one, the court cut right down the middle. You have to, the perfect pass, the perfect set. You have to come in, you start to get some vision, see if the person's short or deep. And I mean, I learned so much. I mean, you're 100% in control. Was a bad pass? Well, it was your own bad pass to yourself. And you didn't like the set? Well, what are you going to look at now? So I think there's unlimited things that people can do. And, now, especially I was just at Florida State visiting Nick, and if you ever get a chance to go to these just monster practices like 24 girls and 100 balls and like 9 coaches and 8 courts, it's a machine that they're running. And it's really amazing to see. But I think a lot of those girls afterwards are like, they show up to Hermosa Beach and they're like, well, where's the 7 coaches and the 100 balls? And so for those girls, it's like a backtrack to the, what do we do now?
Right.
And so, you just have to be creative with it. You have to have fun with it and figure things out, figure out drills that you can get a lot of touches in with, minimal balls but if you are competing to have the best people to compete against, I personally think that every single level of competition just completely ramps up if there's something on it.
Yeah. Yes.
Anywhere from like a $20 or just to eat Gatorade. If I lose to Trevor Crabb and I got to walk to Hermosa Avenue and go hand him a Gatorade and be like, you beat me today, I just want to just throw the Gatorade and slam it down in his face so bad.
I totally agree. I think always put something on it. I remember Stafford Slick when he did outperform me all the time, but I got a couple wins against him. And one of the first ones during practice was in Long Beach, in California, Long Beach, where the sand is just, you don't want to touch that water or the sand. And we said, okay, match at the end. And we put a Long Beach sugar cookie on it where you had to jump in the oily, nasty water, then roll in the nasty sand, and then clean yourself in the filth.
Yeah.
And we got that win. And that picture's hanging on my wall right behind that screen. No, but
yeah,
you turn it on, you turn on the fire. And even now, like when I do want to, I'm not interested in competing anymore, but if I want to give the guys a challenge when I'm playing against them, I go, all right, guys, let's put some money on it here. Like 10, $20, each other's t-shirt, anything from the other person's backpack. Like, what do you want to do? And it does, it makes you want it a little bit harder. And you have to learn that there's meaning behind when you decide to compete after you're done drilling and repping. Now, can you rightfully implement it so that it turns into a win?
That's correct.
I like a little friendly wager.
Oh yeah, I'm with you.
Adam, man, I appreciate you taking the time. I know you got a lot going on. I know you're busy, and I know you got a 5-hour warm-up routine pushes through your day. So it was really cool to talk to you. And this is the largest number of minutes and views we've ever had. So I want to thank you for that. It's pretty cool. Yeah. And if you ever want to, I don't know if you'd be interested in it, but I'd love to invite you to be one of our master coaches for a session or two. And if you ever want to break down any of your old videos, just like a set of volleyball, I think there would be so much value in it for somebody who is started out as a hitter and is now a little bit more of a shooter and understands so much volleyball and has had so much experience with the world's best players, like up close and personal. So I
Hmm.
know it'd be super valuable for our audience. I also know you're busy, but we can talk off camera. And if you
Yeah.
want to do a little video analysis for our members, it would be awesome. But aside from that, yeah,
Yeah.
thanks
I
for the
would love
chat.
to. Yeah. Thank you for having me on. Yeah. This was very fun.
Cool. Just before we hang up, don't, this is the weird part of the podcast where people probably hear this, but try not to close your browser window for the next couple minutes until your side of the upload has closed. So even though we say goodbye, it's not really goodbye. Stay off camera for a second.
Sounds good.
Cool. Guys, thank you so much for watching. If you want to check out some of those drills, the 2 and 3 person drills that me and Adam were talking about, where you can get a lot done, click the link around this video or around this podcast, and you will find my 36 favorite drills. And you could always take one of our online courses. And then if we're lucky enough to have Adam do a video analysis with us, you'll get that in the library as well. So thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for listening. Give us a like, give us a subscribe. And if you enjoyed the episode, for sure, share it with somebody, and then go and hang out and watch and support Adam as he competes on the AVP tour this summer. Have a good one. See you on the sand.
Thank you.